Hey friends, welcome back to the Real Rich Women podcast. I'm here with Lisa again, my business partner, and we're so excited to share with you guys how Lisa got her first clients, because I think that's one of the most common challenges and questions when it comes to new agents. Like, how did you get your first luxury clients, right? Because Lisa kind of hit the ground running, which is unusual, but she hit the ground running with luxury clients off the bat. So can you share that story with people?
Of course.
Yeah.
So I just relied on my sphere of influence. So at the time, I was still working at the law firm, and we had law firm clients that had real estate needs, which was what got the wheels turning to get my real estate license in the first place. But I knew that I had a full-time job already, and I also had started Cupcakes with Danielle. So I was like, there's no way I have time to actually jump into the practice of real estate and do it properly. Yeah. Plus, I didn't know anything about what it took to be an agent. So I teamed up with my first real estate partner at the time, who was a full-time broker. Yeah. And I said, hey, look, I've got this pipeline of clients in a sphere. They have real estate needs. I don't know anything about the business. Can we team up? And I'll split everything with you 50-50. And so that's what we did. So my very first listing that went under me, under the MLS, was a $1.2 million property. And it was stunning. It was owned by the Maloof family. And again, I already knew them from my sphere. And even though I was a brand new agent, one, I was with a brand that they had trusted. And two, they knew me in another professional capacity. So they knew that I was a professional. They knew that I was punctual, on time, ethical. So they said, look, even though you're new with real estate, we trust you to be able to execute on this property. And that's what happened.
Yeah, and I think there's some really important lessons and takeaways from that, right? That basically one of them is your network is your net worth. We hear that all the time. It's a cliche for a reason. Like, Lisa came into real estate with an amazing network, but she actually went out there and got it. She actually went out there and took the initiative, made the calls, asked the questions, asked for the opportunity, right? Because I know a lot of people who come into real estate with an amazing network and they don't tap into it. Right. And so that's one part, right? You could have an amazing network, but you have to know how to utilize that network, and also the reputation, like you talked about. I think that's the other important lesson that we need to share, is that when you are known as someone who is credible, who is reliable, who has good character, who is intelligent, and who is solution-oriented, that translates across any industry. And even if it's just in your personal life that they know you, they will do business with you because they're like, oh, Lisa's always accountable. Lisa does what she says she's going to do. If she says she's going to be at an event, she'll be at the event. If she says she's going to MC or volunteer, whatever it is, right, she'll be there. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that the way you are and your character in your personal life and in your social circles is going to affect how your business is.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think it's important to remember as well, yes, in general, people come from something else before they get into real estate. Yes. Right? They come from something else. Yeah. Maybe it's something that's ancillary. Maybe it's something that is related to it, or it could be completely different, complete 180, right? But the point is that probably you're already a professional in something that you're doing right now. In whatever industry it is that you work in right now, you are a working professional in that industry. Yeah. So the question then becomes, who in your sphere of that network do you know that you can utilize to be able to say, look, I'd love to be a resource to you and help you with real estate. And then number two, lean on those same qualities that you're talking about that have made you successful already in this particular, whatever industry you're already working in, right? There are qualities there that you have picked up, that you have learned, that you have gleaned from others, that you can translate into on the real estate side, and it will help you.
Yeah, and I mean, Belinda, one of our top agents, is a prime example of this. She was a VP at Bank of America for 16 years. Oh, that year. Oh, I thought it was 12. It's 16 years.
She lives a day over 30.
Yeah, she does. And she just built such an incredible reputation because of her work ethic, because of her positive attitude, and how she was always solution-oriented, willing to help, optimistic. And even today, I bumped into a friend of mine, my commercial lender that I work with mostly, and he was saying oh my God, I love Belinda. When I worked with her, she was so amazing. I love how she always had a smile, and she was always just positive, and I love working with her. She's so reliable. She's so professional. And so that translates. She's that's how you get referrals, and that's how you get people to trust you, even if you're new to real estate.
And Belinda too, I mean, her reputation with Bank of America, her previous job, right? Her specialty was going into underperforming branches and turning them around. right? So of course, like that same skill set, right? The managerial skill set that it takes, the mindset that it takes, being solution oriented, like you had said.
Yeah.
Those absolutely are directly translatable into not only real estate, but also it shows in the success that she's had, where she did hit the ground running. Not necessarily because she had an incredibly extensive network or anything like that. She came from a 9-to-5, but again, that experience, those same skill sets that she utilized to be the go-to person when she worked at B of A, naturally has now come to fruition as a real estate professional.
And I think the work ethic, right? Belinda has amazing work ethic, and she's a prime example of like, a lot of people go from the corporate world into real estate and you have this freedom, which is good and bad. But you don't have anyone saying you have to get to the office at 9. You have to stay till 5 or 6.
Right.
And so many people, I realize that they fail is because of like time management. And they're just like, they go from corporate to like freedom. They're like, what do I do with my time? And they, instead of doing anything, they do nothing. It's like this analysis paralysis, right? Whereas Belinda, I feel like she filled her time. So before she had clients, I remember she would fill her time taking classes on probates, on 1031s. She would go out there and attend networking events. She would schedule meetings with potential referral partners, like estate planning attorneys. And so that's the kind of stuff, right? Belinda, I think, is like a prime example of this, of like how to get clients. And so with Lisa was her network, and I think also it's important to share, how did you build that network over the years, right? Because a lot of people don't know, like, okay, if I don't have a network going in, how do I build that?
Yeah, so one, it's just something as simple as kind of who is around you, who do you service already as a professional in whatever industry you're working in now. So again, my very first network when I just got here to Vegas was simply from work, right? From the place you spend most of your time, right? So that's mostly how I met people. But then immediately, I definitely hit the ground running when it came to community engagement. So I got involved really quickly, volunteering here in the community. This is back in the day when I was still doing like modeling and promo modeling. It was a great way for me to meet girlfriends. Being new to the city, I was like taking promo modeling gigs, and literally it's how I met Shar. It's how I met so many of our close girlfriends who to this day, 14 years later, are still very good friends with.
And Char's collaborating with us on Real Estate.
Exactly. And I mean, for me, it was one of the best ways to meet women who were similar in the sense that, we're social, we're outgoing, we're definitely like hustlers because we're out there working these gigs. So that was a great way for me to just quickly meet people in the community, and then also lean in on the community side, engagement side of volunteering, and just getting really, really into the community.
Yeah, and that's how we met, actually, for you guys who don't know our story, but we met at a charity gala. So I used to serve on the board of an organization called OCA, and Lisa was the MC for our charity gala. So doing that community work, that's how you build your network, and that's how you meet people who are like-minded. And I shared this when in a recent interview, actually, for the other podcast with the entrepreneurs. But one of the most common challenges I hear with business partners, for instance, is that it's the partnership issue. Like, oh my God, I have a bad partnership. Oh my God, we're not aligned, or we have these conflicts, or I can't have a conversation with them. And Lisa and I realized like we had the normal business startup issues, like cash flow, whatever. That's normal for bootstrapping a business. But what I realized, the reason why we never really had major conflicts was because we aligned based on character and core values.
Definitely.
And so I think whether you're looking for someone to start a team with, or to build your own team in real estate, or to find a brokerage that you want to work with, you want to be clear on what their character and core values are, and if it aligns with you as a professional and as an agent or an advisor, as we call it in Angle Vokers, because long term, you want someone who's in alignment. Like for us, we have a zero tolerance policy for ethical violations. And we've put our money where our mouth is, where we've terminated someone as soon as we found out. So knowing what what are your core values, and does your company, does your team, does your potential partner in real estate really align with that, right?
Yes. And I think trust ultimately is the baseline for any solid relationship, whether it's business or personal. And it sounds like such a cliche to say, but in practice, it's so true. It keeps ringing through. And because that level of trust is there, we can pick up the phone and have conversations with each other. We can say, hey, like this came up, or this issue just popped up, this fire just came up. If that trust isn't there, and I've had that before with business partners where there wasn't a good level of trust, and unfortunately, it ultimately ended up in a collapse of the relationship, right? It takes time, but it happens. And so that's just what I really appreciate about our relationship and our business relationship, is that it is premised on simple trust. If Cathey tells me she's going to do something, she does it. If she tells me she can't do it, she's clear about it. And I think that, again, those core values that she touched on too, get clear on what's important to you. It takes time sometimes to tease it out, but listen to yourself. If a situation pops up or if someone says something that you're a little like, it gives you pause, that's a real reaction, and that's you reacting to that. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to your feelings and your thoughts around things, because in general, you're going to be right.
Yeah, exactly. And understanding core values is important. That's something I learned. I think it was like a fail forward issue where it's like I had to fail and I say fuck up before I learned this lesson, that my first team was not in alignment with my core values. And that's why it didn't work out, because I realized like one of Lisa's sayings from her mom is blame yourself, right? And so one of our core values is extreme personal accountability. And that comes from both Lisa and my upbringing, which is like, it's a blame yourself situation. It's not anyone else. Stop playing victim. We're both women of color. We're Asian. We're both like children of immigrants. Her mom's from Korea. My parents are from Taiwan. Yet we don't go like, oh my God, this is so hard. No, we go like, America is fucking amazing. The opportunities here are so great. Oh my God, we have to take advantage of it, right? And so it's about accountability. And that's just one of our many core values that we have. We have 7 of them. Another one, I think, is candid communication, which is what Lisa talked about. The willingness and the ability to speak openly. I think a lot of people are afraid of confrontation. So that's another key. And we can share them separately, but we're going to have our core values posted. But I do want to ask you, Lisa, so you had your first client is from your sphere. What about the next, 3 or 4 luxury listings that you have? Were they still from your sphere? Did they come from referrals, or did you do open houses? What were your next 5, like 4 or 5 sources of?
So actually my last open house was on this like $80,000 condo on the east side, right? So here I had this like $1 million listing, thought I was like the shit. And then the reason I got that condo listing was I had my business cards, and I was so excited, right? Because I just got my first pack of business cards from the brokerage, and I went and I left them everywhere. And one of the places I left them was this spa place on Spring Mountain. Okay, so like I left them everywhere, and like I would leave them in like seat back pockets on airplanes. I was leaving these cards everywhere, and I am not kidding. One day my phone rang out of the blue, and this guy was like, "Hey," he was like, "I found your business card, and I have a property that I'd love to, maybe talk to you about. Like, can we do like a listing appointment?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Can you send me the address? Yeah, I'd love to learn more. I'll come see it in person, come walk the property with you." Legit, it was an $80,000 investment condo, and he wanted to purchase something else. And so I was just like, okay, screw it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not too good. I'm not above any of it, right? Like, this is the first couple of transactions. So I was like, I just need to get these things under my belt. I need to get the experience, right? So I legit I sat an open house. I think three weekends in a row, I was doing an open house on this teeny tiny little $80,000 condo on the east side. And that's what it takes, right? Like, especially in the beginning, like, you need to humble yourself, right? Like, you need to say yes to everything that comes your way, because if not, like, if all of a sudden you get too picky and choosy and like you're too good, like the second you start saying no to people, especially in the beginning, you're just gonna be the no person.
Yes.
100%. Like, you'll just end up being the no person.
Exactly.
So like, yes, there's value on your time. Yes, all those things. But I have to say, like, in my opinion, in the beginning, there isn't much value on your time because you're learning, right? So like, you just need to say yes to everything and get out there and hustle and do the work.
Yeah. And action breeds confidence is something I often say. And so the best way to learn is by doing. And by doing, it's sometimes saying yes to those opportunities. Like, honestly, even years down the line, I still would say yes sometimes to these 1,500 square footers. Like, I'm in the commercial real estate side, where people will be like, "Oh, I'm too good for that." But they're like, and then they all come back and ask me, "How did you build a business that's 100% referral based, where you get like $20 million buyers, where you get like $5 million buyers?" I was like, because I never said no.
Yeah, and then the lifetime value of those clients, right? So that one guy, I sold his $80,000 investment condo. I helped him purchase another investment property, and then I think 2 years after that, we ended up selling that one and he bought another. So I ended up doing 4 transactions with this one guy who initially, right, he just called me on an $80,000 condo. And there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, that's not worth my time. If I do the math, it's blah, 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 whatever. No, you need to say yes, especially in the beginning. You need to get all of like the experience under your belt. And if you do a good job, that client will 100% trust you again and will refer you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing I've always said recently. I've been saying this a lot if you've been watching the videos, but when you go into business to solve problems, you make money. When you go into business to make money, you get problems. And the same applies to real estate. So when you focus on how can I solve this problem for my client? How can I help them get this home sold, this investment property sold? How can I focus on helping them find their dream home, find their perfect investment property that fits their criteria? You're gonna make money. But if you focus on how can I make the most commission and how can I maximize my time and it's all me, you're gonna get problems and you're gonna fail. And so I think that's a really important lesson, and that, that's something we both share, where it's like, don't be so arrogant. I see that a lot, unfortunately, and especially the newer agents. And why are they like, oh, it's not worth my time.
I'm like, no, honey, it's all worth your time. It's a $300 rental, it's worth your time. Like just go out there and get it, get the experience, and then you never know, right? Those rental clients, they end up turning into buyers. I promise they do, if you do a good job. But if you treat it like a $300 rental, and you're like tallying up your hourly time, then of course, it's not going to translate into anything. And then you never hear from them again, or they ghost you and you're pissed about it. Like, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you.
And going back to that, knowing how to solve problems with those rentals, right? We have an advisor, Andrea, who's great at this, right? It's about education. And so it's not like, oh, I'm trying to get a buyer instead of a renter. It's about, oh, okay, have you considered buying? Why not? Okay, I didn't know I could buy. I don't have the down payment. Well, how much do you have saved? Like, asking these questions and educating them, you're solving a problem for them, because some of these people just literally don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
And you as an agent advisor are supposed to provide that education, that insight, and help them make an educated decision. And so when you do that the right way, the people who are qualified and who are able to buy are going to buy with you.
Yeah.
And so Andrea's done this a few times, I think, where she's just provided the education. And it wasn't like, you should buy because I'll make a better commission. It's like, no, I want to help you buy because it's going to provide
better for you.
Yeah, it's better
financial
exactly
for you. Yeah.
Right. It provides stability for your family. You have a fixed payment as opposed to rent going up every year. You get to build equity in your home. Things like this, where it's not about, oh, what commission do I make? It's about, does this help you more? Does it help you more to get into rental? Does it help you more to buy a home? And so focusing on solutions, and Andrea's another great advisor and example that hit the ground running, right?
Yeah, she did. And, I think it's important to remember as well, when you're trying to, let's say, flip your renters into buyers, where you're providing that good education, you have to have great lenders who are experienced, that you have experience with, and that your clients, that past clients have experience with, that you can confidently connect them with your client, with your renter, so that they can have a candid conversation between them to figure out if in fact buying is financially better for them at the stage that they're at. Sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. But it's good for them to know, it's good for you to know, it's good for the lender to know, so that way there's a chance that, hey, maybe it's not the right time right now, but you can put them into a rental for a year, right? And maybe during that time they're working on their credit, maybe they picked up a side hustle to increase their income, whatever it is. And then that lender's also with them every step of the way to tee them up to get that pre-approval ready to go. So that way when their lease is up in the following year, you now have a buyer client.
Exactly.
So lean on your lender partners, lean on people that are also trusted resources, and again, kind of build out your network of the professionals, as a toolkit almost, so that you can help your clients.
Yeah. And educate yourself so that you know how to educate your clients. Because how can you be the professional and the advisor if you're not investing in your own personal education, right? A lot of agents, if you're a newer agent, what you should be doing in any spare moment is taking a C class, watching a YouTube video, listening to a podcast, learning this kind of thing, podcast, right? Learning from people who have been there and done that, and then taking that and actually applying it. Because there's two steps to it. A lot of people learn, consume, but they don't create, and then they don't take action. And so yes, you should learn, but I always say it's take action, implement. Yes. Yeah, so learn, but implement. And everything you watch, read, whatever it is, implement right after. So what you're learning, what you're listening to us right now, think about how you can do that. Okay, we shared, for instance, Lisa and I met at a charity gala. Go find a charity gala that you can volunteer at and build your network that way, right? Find one or two nuggets from every piece of content or every educational class that you take, and create an action list. Yes, create an action list for yourself, and that's how you start getting traction on things, when you actually take the action. And I think another thing, since we're talking about Andrea, an important thing that she does it aligns with another one of our core values, which is world-class service. And I know Lisa's done this as well. And if you want to be successful, you can't do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like if you want to, like real estate, there's so many people in the industry. What sets you apart? What makes you not a commodity? What makes you different? What makes people want to be like your clients? And what creates this, what I call a raving fan client base, which I have, which some of my clients have become some of my best friends, and literally they like recommend everyone to me, and they'll like do testimonials, they'll do all the things, like they'll talk about me and like drop my name in rooms that I don't even know about, right? And the reason for that is world-class service. And I know, Lisa, you probably have some great examples of, I've heard about them, but I want you to share yourself about like some of those broker opens and things like that, right? And that you've done.
Going out of your way to think outside of the box, one, and two, really just thinking about like what will dazzle the client. If the end goal, for example, is just to get the property sold, right? Like whatever the kind of end goal is, and it's a shared goal between you and the client, what's really going to dazzle the client? And so I had a listing where we wanted to do just a really spectacular, like blow it out of the water, brokers open. It was first of its kind, first time to hit the market. And that was the year that Lamborghini had replaced the Gallardo with the Huracan. So it was this brand new model of Lamborghini coming out. And I was just like, we should give away a Huracan with this property. And everyone was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, we'll get right on that, you know? And I was just like, no, seriously, you guys, like, we totally should do this. And like, I'm going to figure out how to do it. And
how much was the property that you wanted to give away a land though?
It was expensive. It was expensive, I will say. But, you know, I went to Lamborghini Las Vegas, and the GM at the time was this guy, Tom Brazil, who I knew from my Miss Nevada days. And so I went to him and I was like, Tom, I have a business proposition for you. And he was like, what? You know? And I was like, so I have this incredible property. I want to work out something where we could give away a Huracan with it, like include it in the price of the sale, you know? And he was just like, okay. I was like, we could do this club. I gave him the whole pitch on like the collaboration of like, you know, these high-end clients and like why that's also your high-end client and it's a match. You know, it's gonna be a win-win all around. Like if you want to like help me on the marketing side, like give me a little bit of marketing dollars here. Like let's put something spectacular together. And I give him credit. He let me babble on for like the whole pitch, right? I do this like 15-minute like thing. And at the end of it, we're sitting in his office, and at the end, he was like, Lisa, he was like, I would love to help you. He's like, you know, I like you. Like, I think you're great. I'd love to help you. However, Lamborghini has $0 for marketing budget. He's like, we spend $0 on marketing. You want to know why? Because I'm sold out of the Huracan for the next year. He was like, these cars sell themselves. He is like, we do zero marketing because we don't have to, because it's Lamborghini. And I was like, oh. Like, I don't know. I didn't think about it. I didn't like put it together, right? I'm thinking to myself that like, you know, you want more high-end clients. We have high-end clients. How do we collab? And I was just like, oh. And so then it like that immediately just made me realize like, I need to get focused on like, what is their end goal, right? How does it help them, right? And in short, I will say I did leave there with an agreement, and we ended up collabing on it. And we worked out a deal where there was a prepayment of a 2-year lease on a Huracan along with the sale of the property. So we were able to say, hey, it's included, right? A Huracan is included. And, you know, with something like that, I mean, the client was thrilled. He was so excited because he knew how hard these cars are to get, you know, and he was just like, I don't even know how you did that. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. He was so excited, so thrilled, and just absolutely loved the press on it too that we got, because it was just such a big deal. And
it's creative marketing.
It's creative, yeah. But most importantly, I was literally just like, okay, how do I dazzle this client? Because this client's seen it all, right? And they come from this like really wealthy family. So I was just like, what is going to make it so cool, so exciting? Something that like, even with all their connections, like maybe they still can't get, right? How can I like lean into my network and lean into people who I know to help? And so that's what we did.
Exactly. And that's an amazing story and amazing like idea, right? And so it's being willing to like be that, I think trailblazer is important, because no one's ever done it. No one ever did it before her. I don't think anyone ever did it after her. But the willingness to ask, to take action, to put yourself out there is so important. But also like what you said, world-class service, right? It's something that's something that you talk about at the dinner table with your friends, with your family, right? You want to get plugged in rooms where you're not even in, and you want to create that raving fan base. Like they would have dinner with their buddies and be like, oh my God, you can't believe what my realtor just did, right? You can't believe what my agent just did. Like this is such a cool thing, right? And so that's the kind of stuff you want to create where you become, and if you do that over time, you then become the Lamborghini of real estate, right? Like I'm at that point in commercial real estate where I was like, I don't do any paid ads. I've never bought leads. I don't really do marketing. And I think I have like 15 or 16 clients that reached out to me in the past like 2 weeks, right? Because they all know me through word of mouth. And that referral and that word of mouth is stronger than any paid ads that you'll ever do, because it's coming from their buddy who like owns a multi-million-dollar property.
And your client actually will be the one doing the marketing for you. So when we did the collateral that actually had the property in the background and it had the Gallardo, it had the Huracan like right on the front of it, but it was like this piece of marketing collateral that had, the brokerage, the whole thing, right? And it was this beautiful piece of marketing collateral. Obviously, we had a screenshot of it that I texted to him to let him know that was what was going out. And he was like texting it to everybody, right? He was texting it to everyone because he was like, look how amazing this is.
Yeah.
Like your clients will do the marketing for you if you are delivering that world-class service that really gets them excited.
Yeah. And the network thing, I know another one that we did this with our team, but the whiskey and watches event was really cool too. So it was kind of like Lisa's brainchild. So if you want to share on that was like another unique one, I think.
Yeah. So our team had a listing in Mount Charleston. Bullen, Clark, and Murray Templeton had this really beautiful, stunning listing in Mount Charleston a couple of years ago. And again, we wanted to just do something different, something cool. Of course, you can do a high-end broker's open, right? And you've got the champagne and the hors d'oeuvres, and maybe there's a photographer there, but like what else, right? And so we were able to team up with Ulysse Nardon, which is a great watch brand, one of the historical watch brand, and they actually sent out a watchmaker to the property for the broker's open, and we did a whiskey and watches event at the house. And it was perfect because we had folks that came out there who, they knew that the property was for sale. So you did have some folks who showed up who actually wanted to see the property. And then you had some folks who were watch fans, right? They're watch collectors, they're watch enthusiasts. Some of them were Ulysse Nardon specific brand enthusiasts. And they came out to the property to participate and see this amazing watchmaker in person and get a chance to chat with him, do a little bit of like the gear exercises with him, take the watch apart. Like, it was such a cool experience and really just special and unique. And it happened to be hosted at a property that our team was selling. And so it was just a perfect pairing, a great win-win. And that client was really excited that, again, we were thinking outside the box, coming in with something unique that would bring eyeballs to the property that maybe not necessarily are directly in the market at the moment, but surprise, surprise, they might see something they like and or keep it in mind for the future.
Yeah. And when you do events like that, you not only attract like the potential buyers for the property, like Lisa said, but you attract a potential seller client, right? Because people are like, oh, this is different. I've never seen an agent do something like this. I've never seen an advisor do something like this. I want you to market my property. And that's, again, how you start creating that reputation and that brand for yourself and to become a Lamborghini of real estate, right? So I think that's really important. I love Lisa's ideas and her shares. And we're going to wrap up today, but I'm sure we're going to do tons more of these. So if you guys have any questions specifically or any topics that you want us to cover, drop it in the comments and we will shoot another video. I think one of them I wanted to ask Lisa was like, next time we'll talk about overcoming challenges in transactions, because she's had some great stories that involve some eggs and chickens and stuff like that.
Some waffles and more stories next time. Okay.
Yeah, so next time we'll talk about challenging transactions and how do you navigate those challenging transactions to be solution oriented, to overcome them, and to get the transactions to the closing table, because that's ultimately your goal as a real estate agent. And Lisa has amazing stories, so stay tuned. We're gonna talk about some chickens next time. It's a great story. See you next time.